Welcome to another edition of Around Town, where we focus in on the people and places of your community. I'm Larry Seaman, your host. Today we're visiting Derry, New Hampshire, and we have with us Richard Holmes, who is well known as the historian here in Derry, and he's a member of the Derry Historic Society, and of course the curator of the museum, right?
That's great. And the museum is actually run by the Heritage Commission, which is actually a part of the town's government. Okay. So technically I'm a department head. Okay. The smallest department head and the poorest department head, but still, yeah.
Always the case. Yeah. Heritage, talk a little bit about that.
The Heritage Commission was established by the town charter back 20 years ago, and has continued. Originally we're called the Historic District Commission, now we're the Heritage Commission, and we are 7 people and who are in charge of promoting, protecting, and preserving the history of the town. And one of our big charges is maintaining this museum. Now, the museum itself was started by the Historical Society back in 1975, across the street at the railroad, the fire station. Then 6 years ago, in fact almost exactly 6 years ago, we moved from there to here, and this has become our permanent home.
And a little bit about this building.
Well, the building itself was built between 1905 and 1906, and it was from money donated by Benjamin Adams. He was a wealthy lumber dealer here in town, and when he died, he left money for a town hall, library, meeting room, and the big debate as to where to put it went on for months and months and months. And because East Derry thought it should go there, and West Derry, which was becoming the center of the town, thought it should be here. And finally, after it was almost 2 years of raw politics and fighting, they finally decided to put it here. And so when it was finally opened between 1905 and 1906, it held the town library. This is where all the town meetings were held. Upstairs on the 3rd floor is what we call the Opera House, where they had traveling shows or local productions. The courthouse was held up on the 2nd floor. Down on this level, it became the police station eventually. It was also used for a while for a public school, so it served many purposes over the years. Finally, when they acquired the old post office at the corner of Crystal and Broadway, the town hall moved there. And then when they built the new courthouse, the court moved out of here. And so the building was left vacant, and then the Arts Council made it as their project to take over this building and make it what it is now. They put well over $1 million into the restoration of this building.
So there is the Arts Center more or less here, as well as the Historic Society.
Absolutely right. Plus we have the Chamber of Commerce on the 2nd floor, right. And I share this floor with the Housing Authority.
Great, great. Talk a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in history so much.
Well, I was born here in Derry. I grew up over in the next town. I learned history from my father. Whenever we would drive any place, he would talk about history. And when I went to school, I went to a one-room schoolhouse. I mean a true old-fashioned one-room schoolhouse with an outdoor privy, no running water. The janitor would bring in a bucket of water in the morning, and we would all drink out of the same ladle. And it was heated by a small box stove, which if you sat too near it, you got too hot. If you were too far away, you froze. Yeah. But each row was a different grade. So when I was practicing, or should have been practicing, my letters in the 1st grade, I was listening to the stories of daring do that were being taught in the 4th grade about American history. So I found the American Revolution and the Civil War and George Washington and all those boys to be much more interesting than writing in a proper cursive hand. So I am now the bane of all my editors when I ever write something in cursive.
Now, what happened to the building? Is it still there, the schoolhouse?
Yeah, the schoolhouse is now a private house, and I guess the old privy is now a woodshed and a tools. So I learned history there. Didn't learn my writing very well, and then when time came to go to college, I chose history. Not much you can do with a degree in history, so I taught for 32 years and got my master's degree.
Where did you teach?
I taught in Pelham.
Okay.
You know, the old theory is you never teach in the same town you live. And so I taught there for 32 years. I had my master's in history and other, credits beyond master's. And then I retired at 54 and decided that I was going to spend the rest of my life trying to promote the history of this town.
Perhaps you can guide us through the museum and history of Derry. How's that?
All right. The only hard part is going to be restraining my enthusiasm and keeping me within the narrow window of whatever time frame you have, because Derry is blessed with so much history that it's absolutely incredible. That ancient prayer about "Lord, let me live in interesting times."
Right.
For historians, it's "Lord, let me live in an interesting town."
Oh, that's true.
And Derry is just so filled with history that
And it's a beautiful town, too.
it is a beautiful town, and it's made up of wonderful people, and just the history should be known by all of them, and that's my job. Now, so far I've written 6 books on local history. The last 4 dealt with the town of Derry, and at the museum we do have 3 of them for sale. We got Nutfield Rambles, the latest one that just came out a month ago, The Road to Derry, and Derry Revisited. So anyone who comes in here, certainly has the opportunity. If you buy a book here or at the town hall or the library, the royalties I don't get. They go to the town.
Okay.
And we also have copies of other publications like Glimpses of Derry, which gives more of a brief history of the town. We have some free pamphlets and so forth. Souvenir silver coins and postcards and stationery. And I actually got a lot of old comic books.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if the price says 35 cents, that's what the price is.
One quick question, though, is what is the difference between the books? If somebody was looking to something specific, is there
Well, okay, we'll go...
a different approach on each one of them?
Yeah, Derry Revisited,
Right.
or its sister, Derry. I don't name them. When you do a book, the publisher names them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So this is strictly pictures. Nutfield Rambles, which is heading towards a year and a half old, is a collection of my stories about the history of Derry.
Okay.
And so you have ghost stories and witches and goblins and heroes and tragedies. And the Road to Derry is a history of the town. And encompassing in a very small package the entire history of the town from when they left Ireland in 1718 right up until, well, the closing of Calvary Bible School
Right.
a few months ago.
So more of a chronology.
Yeah, it goes by chronology, but it also goes by theme. Politics starts in 1718 and goes to the present. Schools started in 1718, go to the present. So there's a chapter on schools, social, politics. So you can follow that theme.